Hi, Eric.
Hi, Nikki.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, it's good to meet you too.
We are here at the South African Oracle User Group at the conference 2025. It's been so exciting. So, before we get into it, you can briefly introduce yourself, what you do, and perhaps why you're here.
All right, so my name is Elrich Linde and I work for Deloitte. I am the Oracle EPM lead in the finance transformation team.
Amazing. Wow. What brings you to the 2025 conference?
Yes, so Deloitte is a sponsor here this year
Right.
for the SA Oracle User Group Conference. And I had an opportunity to speak about the future of finance today and spoke about the finance trends that we as Deloitte has seen for 2026. So we did a survey of 1,326 finance professionals in 23 countries, and out of all those interviews that we performed, we distilled it down to 5 trends that we saw globally.
Wow, I'm so curious to know what these trends are
Well,
for
now I
the
hope
future
I
of
can
finance.
remember those 5 trends.
Yes, you can throw in one or two there so that we at least
Yeah.
have an idea what
Yeah.
we are going into next year.
Yeah. So the first trend that we saw is all about speed and how quickly you can respond to
Change.
to change, right? So in the finance world, you like to plan in advance so that you can have your money ready, you can have all everything ready in the organization for that. So the first trend is about scenario planning and having different scenarios of how the world might pan out. So you can imagine when the talk about tariffs changed, how quickly organizations would have to change. So if you, for instance, had different scenarios set up about what might happen to import and export rates, then you would have been ahead of the curve and you could be able to do that. But it also goes with agility. So it's not just how quickly you can respond, but is your internal structures at a place that enables you to respond quickly. So for instance, it doesn't help you if you know you need to change, but your governance processes are of such a manner that it takes you 6 months to buy something because the procurement process is preventing you from doing it. So that's kind of the agility that comes with the scenario planning. So that's the first trend. But
Wow.
yeah, definitely 4 more of those.
I absolutely love the first trend, which talks about speed, right? And I mean, the great example you've just given is around tariffs,
Yeah.
right? And we don't know what else Trump is going to announce next year. And he definitely got things on his sleeves, right? So it's really important for businesses to be agile enough to respond to these shifts in the market.
Just
At the
like
snap
that.
of a finger, I guess. That's where speed comes in.
Absolutely.
So wow, that
Yeah.
that was really insightful because I gave a talk not so long ago,
Yeah.
and I was talking about the trends for 2026 as well. I didn't like call it speed the way you put it.
Yeah.
For me, it was more about anticipating disruption.
Yes.
What is it that
Yes.
it's not happening now, but could happen in 2026, and how do we as a business, adjust to that? So it speaks very much to what I had to say and the speed at which this change.
That's it, because
Should happen.
we live in a VUCA world, right?
Absolutely.
So for whoever is listening, it's volatile,
Yeah,
uncertain,
yeah.
complex and ambiguous. So the more you can plan for that and just get yourself ready for whatever might come your way,
Absolutely.
it helps. Yeah,
I
put you in the
love that.
forefront.
May I ask what the next trend is?
Yes, so the next trend was all about finance is stepping into strategic leadership roles. So in the past, in many years, you've known accountants were referred to as bean counters, and that kind of view of, in the past, you're just supporting the business, you just tell what has been happening. That is changing. So 57% of the finance leaders that were interviewed say that they are playing a strategic leadership role now in the organization. They are actively shaping the direction that their organizations are going to. And that's a huge change from being a bean counter to actually saying, well, this is where we need to go to as a business. I think the interesting part of that was and that ties in with this whole conference about AI and cloud, is that we've seen that those respondents that are talking about that they are strategic leaders have implemented cloud technology and AI, because all of a sudden they have the data available to make the decisions, to help the rest of the business make decisions, and because of that influence that they are starting to shape the direction where the organization is going to.
Wow. Amazing. I mean, the only constant is change. So we cannot afford to sit on the sidelines.
That's right.
And now that I'm on the second train, I guess it's just natural to ask what the third train is, because I don't think I'm going to leave this halfway.
Absolutely, no, I got it. So the third trend is about, in that same vein, in the past, finance functions often just played a supporting role.
Right.
And what we've seen is that with the respondents, the one group that's saying that they are strategic leaders, and the other group are saying that they just kind of responding and providing information for the business, that split takes place. And the ones that are saying that they are the strategic leaders are also saying they are taking ownership of the costs and the expenses and the management of them. So in the past you might have had the finance function just going and saying, here you go, Nikki, this is your department, here are the financials of your department, you need to go and make decisions based on that, and we will tell you next month what has happened. Whereas the finance leaders that are setting the trends and that we are seeing are actually going, no, Nikki, I'm your business partner, right? I'm working with you on this. I'm going to own the finances, and I'm going to tell you and help you to make those decisions of what you need to change. This is what the data is saying. If we can go and save these expenses here, here, and here, your profit will be much bigger. And they take ownership of that costs and expenses. So that's the third one. And of course the systems that play a role in that as well. To be able to make those decisions, to track the costs properly and plan forward in advance. But the whole aspect of the finance function are taking that ownership rather than just being standoffish and say, okay, here's your information. This is what happened last month. So actually now taking that ownership, that's a trend that we definitely see coming through.
I think that's a beautiful transition.
It is.
It's actually a beautiful transition on how roles are changing within organizations,
Yes.
jobs are changing, and how we all need to embrace this change instead of the finance professional sticking like, okay, this is what I signed up for, I am not willing to change.
We'll get to that one. It's one of the trends.
Oh. Okay, I think we are now on the fourth one.
Yes, so the fourth trend that we see is the adoption of AI and agentic AI.
I was wondering, where is AI?
That's
now
it.
Three, where are you AI?
Where are we at? Well, I must say that what we've noticed is that with these trends, they are so closely clustered that one of our starting kind of comments is, it is like as if everything is happening at one stage and the finance is trying to handle it all and having to handle it all. So it is not, there were no clear stand out above the rest. They were all kind of interrelated or very closely aligned.
Amazing.
Yeah. So with the AI and agentic AI, we've found that 63% of all the finance functions that we interviewed have embraced AI and adopted AI in some form, which is actually very good. 63% is high.
That's a good number.
I would have accepted less. But there's a caveat, and that is that there's a gap between AI and agentic AI. We found that only 14% of the finance functions have implemented agentic AI. Now the difference, the way that I like to explain it to finance people is AI, you can have a bot, which is a glorified macro, right? That you click a button and it runs and it do things. That counts as AI. So many of the finance functions have already created some automation, and that counts as they've implemented. But when it comes to agentic AI, where you can have intelligent conversations almost with the AI, you can ask a question, get information, and then ask questions on the information provided and get more answers. That is the agentic AI part. Only 14% of the finance functions has implemented that. So we see that there's a gap between AI and agentic
AI. Which for me, I guess it makes sense. maybe I'm just being paranoid, or just my everyday brain, going to places it shouldn't go to.
Yeah.
But I think there's a good reason for that,
Yeah.
in my opinion, right? Because I'm thinking, okay, trust agentic AI to take control of certain financial functions,
Yes.
and then you get up tomorrow and you're bankrupt. Right?
Exactly. So, and that's a good point, because we saw that in the data that's coming out. And interestingly enough, the leaders that has already embraced cloud, already has embraced AI, the forefront of their mind is data security. So that's what they're thinking about. Saying, okay, well, if Elrich is sitting here in finance and I'm running my AI, am I going to have access to all the HR information and see what
Right.
Nikki is earning?
Exactly.
Those kind of things. So that's what they are thinking about. Unfortunately, the guys on the other hand that are not the leaders are more concerned about things like, well, how am I get from my legacy system to a place where AI can run? Because if you have a solution in a silo that's running on a computer there in a corner, you can't really run AI on it. You need an AI database that can be interrogated. So for them it is, how do I move there? Where am I going to get the money for that? Where do I get a business case for that? And then the second part is that return on investment. They're going to have to go to their bosses and explain, we need to implement cloud, we need to implement AI. And the first thing they will ask them is, well, where's your business case? And how much money are you going to save us? So they have that barrier to entry. So definitely for the ones that are not leading the path, they're concerned about how do I get off my legacy systems?
Right.
How do I get a return on
Yeah.
investment? Where the leaders are absolutely thinking about data security, data privacy, and all those kind of things.
I personally feel like humanity still has a long way to fully trust agentic AI.
Yes.
Right. Because let's look at large language models, for example. These models, they hallucinate and give us things we didn't ask for, right?
Yes, they do.
Now you're trusting agentic AI with your budget,
Yeah.
right? Say, okay, this is the budget, do 1, 2, 3. And it decides to hallucinate and triple the budget on its own. No one gave it permission to do that. Who is held responsible when such a thing happened, right?
Yeah.
This morning on stage, I was giving a funny example. I'm like, someone said, you can ask agentic AI to look for you a good holiday destination or vacation.
Yeah.
Then the agentic AI books that flight on your behalf and takes care of everything. I'm like, what if the agentic AI decides to book a flight for me, for my neighbor, and for my school friends in high school, and decides to empty my bank account, right? So I'm thinking around those things like, but it seems the 14%, I'm happy about the 14%. Because it shows that humans are cautious about full autonomous systems to just say, okay, go ahead, agentic AI, do as you want, right? And I think that is a healthy skepticism, in my opinion.
It is. And you know what, you're dealing with accountants as well. you know,
Right.
that we are traditionally extremely risk averse, right? So,
Exactly.
and hate change and are scared of change
Right.
in general, right?
Right.
Now there are exceptions to the rule, but in general, you speak to a finance person and they're concerned that a bot is going to take their job, and
Right.
and what is going to happen and how it's going to, because they are risk averse. That's why they choose the professional as well,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
But I think the way that I look at AI is an agentic AI. I'm looking at it as an extremely competent resource with very little experience.
Right.
Because, we as humans, and just to come to your point,
Right.
we don't do delegation well, right? We either micromanage or we abdicate our responsibility. We say, you do it, and then we abdicate our responsibility. But if you know how to delegate well and you view agentic AI as a really sharp resource, but just out of university, very little experience, then that's, I think, is a healthy approach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you can give them the work, they will do the heavy lifting work,
Yeah.
but man, you have to check and make sure it is correct.
Absolutely.
So a strategy that I've heard is works for me is the 30-40-30 rule. So the 30% goes on how are you structuring the question? What are you asking the AI to do? That's spend 30% of your time just to think about that rather than just abdicate your responsibility,
Right.
throw it over the
Exactly.
fence. Then 40% let them do their hard work, but then spend that 30% of your time to check, validate, and see that what they're giving you are not hallucinations, like you say.
Amazing. One of the speakers said something this morning around the human being in the loop, right? And she explained it so brilliantly in a way that I haven't heard before. And she said we can, by keeping the human in the loop, one of the ways we can do that is by letting the agent go do the research or some strategy or put the tools together, whatever needs to be done. Let the agent go out there and do it. But the execution should be done by a human. I was like, yes! Yes!
Absolutely.
That's what it means to have a human in the loop. And because and the agent can bring us the data much faster. You can put together things that would take us weeks to put together. You can do it together in a, like in just time frame can be squeezed like this. But let the execution be done by a human. Let the human fact check these things. Even if AI is going to finally execute it, the human should check it before the final execution. So that's just my opinion around that. And we are down to the fifth.
But on that one, just to say, so what we've seen is that people are doing exactly that.
Great.
Get AI to do the work.
Yes.
Because
The
it
heavy
frees
lifting.
the heavy lifting, the day-to-day boring stuff that we know is the mundane that they can do. And then it allows them to focus on value-adding opportunities, value-adding things. That is why they can go to a Nikki and start working with you on your costs, because they don't have to sit and work on a report and create a manual report for you.
Amazing. One last one to go, the fifth one.
So the fifth one is the change in the skills that are being embraced by finance.
Amazing.
So where in the past you probably just have finance-related skills, chartered accountants, financial people that studied into finances. Now you start seeing data engineers coming in and data analysts coming in and
within the financial sector as well.
into the finance function itself. Yeah. So you can understand that, you know what, you have all of a sudden you have all these technologies. Finance on its own can't embrace that quickly.
Right.
And also, it's not just embracing it that quickly. If you're an engineer, you think differently.
Absolutely.
To an accountant.
Yeah.
So you bring these things together, and the finance teams that are seeing the best success are people that are bringing these different parts into the finance team to start thinking about different business differently.
Wow.
And that's the fifth one.
That's
and that blends with, you know, where do you go and find that resources? One is you might just go and try and recruit it, but AI is such a new field that it's tricky. But the other part is to say then, okay, well, let's start training our own people up.
Right.
Correct people from different parts of the business that goes with it. There's one quote that we have that I love, that one of the CFOs said, and is curiosity for them is everything. All they want is for their staff to be curious.
Right.
Because then these new technologies will be fun. It will be something that they can embrace and don't freak out about it, because they are curious, start working on, and before you know, you've built a niche by blending your existing skills of finance with the new skills that you were curious about.
I absolutely agree. It's one of the things I talk about in my book. Curiosity is the new skill.
There you go.
Just the mind to wonder, okay,
Yes.
what is this? How do I implement this? How is this impacting my industry? What change do I need to do? How else do I need to evolve? I mean, these are all elements of curiosity. So if people fail to just have that mind that wanders in these ancient times, they will quickly find themselves being left behind. And so, Rick, thank you so much for such insightful. I didn't know there were 5 trends, and now we ended up talking about them. So is there one final thing you want to share with the audience? Perhaps something I haven't asked you? One final thought before you leave?
Yeah, no, thank you. It was obviously a huge privilege to be here and to be able to speak on this. And I think, you know what, take the first step. Really just try and take the first step. And like I say, I have an accounting background. I've been fortunate to be in systems for a long time. But I understand that for many people it's a difficult transition.
Right.
It is emotional and it's hard. You know, people are really scared that they might lose their job and that they won't be relevant. And I would just encourage them to say, you know what, yes, it might be scary, but it's also the biggest opportunity that you probably have, is to step out now, be curious, and it will, instead of move you from a place that you might be scared about losing your job, it might just excel and propel you into your future.
Absolutely, absolutely. Fear is not going to take us anywhere. So
right.
the time is now to embrace this technology, the disruption that is happening, and for everyone to become part of the revolution.
Yeah.
There's something I say all the time, like that era where these conversations were for tech guys, the
Yes.
tech department or the IT department, that era is over.
Yeah.
The conversation around technology, around disruption, around
right.
artificial intelligence is for everyone, and it runs across the organization, not just the tech organization. I mean, not just the tech department. So thank you so much for sharing your
pleasure.
insights and the recent research from Deloitte around the future trends that we
Yes.
are looking forward to getting into in 2026. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Nikki. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely.